First of all, it is a sham that we sit here and y'all pretend as if you care about what the people have to say, but we are going to make y'all listen as long as you will. This map does nothing but divide, distract, and depress. There is this idea that was put out there during his opening remarks that this does so much for Black folk. Well, let me tell you, as a Black person, it does not. Let me tell you that in this map, to be clear, y'all added two additional Anglo majority seats. Now, when we went through the 21 maps, you added 2 Anglo majority seats, and now you're adding 2 more Anglo majority seats, and then you've decided that you are going to pack and crack, and that is the language that I am going to use because that is the legal language. And I also just want to remind y'all really quickly that it does not look good when you take every economic engine out of my district and then tell me that I am supposed to sit here and be so happy because you added Black folk from a whole other community. When you want to talk about monoliths and whether or not they exist, this idea that you just take people and move them around. I have 200,000 people who were never in my district, and my district is 766,000. Playing move minorities around so that you can somehow claim that this is nothing but partisanship. The only way that you get here is by making sure that you trample upon the rights and the liberties and the voices of minorities. So let me give you a few facts about the state of Texas. The state of Texas only has 39% Anglos, yet somehow under this map, we are going to have somewhere near 60-something, almost 70% of these seats are going to be chosen by Anglos. If we were looking for fairness and to follow the Voting Rights Act, you'd have 15 Latino opportunity seats, 15 Anglo seats. You then have 4 African-American opportunity seats. Then you'd have 2 Asian opportunity seats, and the other 2 seats would belong to coalitions because we are a majority-minority state where over 60% of this population is people of color. So if you want to do what's fair and right under the Voting Rights Act, as well as if you say that this Fifth Circuit Court case matters and somehow changes everything, my question to you is, when are y'all gonna do y'all's maps? Because you did your maps in 2021 and then the case came out, and I haven't seen y'all talk about the fact that you're gonna redistrict the House and the Senate.
Thank you for testimony.
And you have questions? You okay? Representative Turner, recognize the question of the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Questions for Congresswoman Crockett.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. You mentioned in your testimony that this proposal, House Bill 4, removes economic engines from Congressional District 30.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yes. So Dallas Love Airport has historically been in District 30 maybe since it was created, which was also in 1990. It is gone now. All of downtown Dallas, which has AT&T headquarters, Goldman Sachs is there, and a number of others, entirety of downtown has been removed as well. As well as right there, this isn't necessarily one of the economic engines, but right there at the airport is a historic freedmen's town. And so I do have a number of freedmen's towns in general that are in my district. They removed that one that is right there by the airport, and they also removed, no, that's the only one that they removed. From what I can tell, I've not had a great opportunity to review these maps. It's been slow. And then they also removed the medical center. And what is so heartbreaking specifically about them removing the medical center from this district is that one of the 3 ARPA-H facilities that was authorized under the previous administration, the state of Texas is the only Republican state to get one, and I got it to come to my district. We're talking about tons of jobs. We're talking about a lot of money overall for medical research, and they removed that as well. As of now, I am unclear as to what economic engines really do still exist within the current iteration of my district.
And you're right. I know that Love Field, downtown, those have historically been parts of Congressional District 30, dating back to Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson's early years in Congress. Yes. So it is shocking to see them removed. You mentioned how the map brings you further into Tarrant County.
Yes.
And so you would represent a big chunk of Arlington under this proposal. But I noted in looking at the boundaries of the map in Arlington, It takes Congressional District 30 right up to the edge of UT Arlington,
Right.
but doesn't include UT Arlington.
Correct.
And it takes you right up to the edge of the General Motors plant, but does not include the General Motors plant.
Right.
So those are, and it certainly doesn't include the entertainment district.
No.
And so those are three economic engines in Arlington, which you would represent a much larger portion of, but they would not be in your district either.
That is absolutely right. And it's interesting that you bring up the Tarrant County aspect. I do want to be clear, because we are talking about the Voting Rights Act. When we're talking about the Voting Rights Act, we're talking specifically about Section 2. Section 2 is about race. So we will continue to mention race because that is the law. Section 2 and the Voting Rights Act overall was codified to basically further explain the 15th Amendment of the Constitution, which again was about race. So that's why we're talking about it. So when you look at Dallas County and the way that they have sliced it up, Dallas County is one of the most diverse counties in the entire state of Texas. But unfortunately, what they've done is they've taken those minority communities and they've separated them out. They've either divided them into random districts that have nothing to do with the things that they need. They're not communities of common interest, or they've packed them into districts. And now they're claiming, oh, we created a new something for you, so be happy. And it's not true. So when it comes to Tarrant County, unfortunately, Congressional District 33 was pretty much anchored in Tarrant County. All of those historic Black areas, Stop 6 and others, they now are supposedly going to be represented by somebody who's probably never, ever going to walk those streets. I just want to be honest about that. And so the Tarrant County portion, in my opinion, it is being failed right now, because what it should be is it should be either majority in Tarrant County or linked with other people in Tarrant County that are more communities of interest, or there should just be a wholly contained Tarrant County district, and they could absolutely do that, and they're choosing not to.
Absolutely. And in my view of the Tarrant County portion of the map is that, tell me if you agree with this, the minority voting strength in Tarrant County is greatly diminished through classic cracking in the case of CD 33 and packing in the case of CD 30.
Absolutely.
That fair to say? That's
absolutely. They used CD 30 to pack it up with minorities that they felt like maybe wouldn't go along with the white supremacist agenda, but yes.
And the previous comment, I think, from the bill author, maybe in response
been a question. I mean that's not even been the position of the state. I am engaged in litigation from the 2021 maps where they used CD30 in a similar way. And actually at the time that the 2021 maps, well, as we were working on the maps and the numbers came out, CD30 had a naturally occurring population of 52% citizen voting age population being African American. This legislature in 21 decided to pull it down from being over 50%. And they were allowed to do so because federal law says that it's more so about, will this still perform as an African American opportunity seat? So they did not do me a favor and somehow create an African American opportunity seat. And their position in this current litigation that has not been resolved has been that CD30 is protected under the Voting Rights Act as an African American opportunity seat.
Absolutely. And back to the last question, back to economic engines briefly. Federal courts have historically looked at redistricting plans, and when legislatures have removed key economic engines from majority minority districts and districts represented by minority members of Congress or minority legislators, they have, is it fair to say they have taken a dim view of legislatures doing that?
They have absolutely taken a dim view, which is one of the reasons that I brought that up. In addition to the fact that I know that this legislature did ask us as members of Congress to confirm our addresses. I don't know how many of us actually still reside in the districts that we represent. I do not currently reside in my district based upon the plan that has been drawn, which is another red flag, in addition to courts consistently looking at how many people have been moved. And when we do the math, our districts are approximately 766,000 people. All of a sudden, randomly moving approximately 200,000 people out and another 200,000 people in, because Tarrant County, I only had about 50,000 people in the current iteration. Now I'm going to have 250,000 people from Tarrant County.
Right. That's information I didn't know. So the legislature, as Texas Legislative Council, asked you recently for your home address? Prior
to us actually, yeah. Prior to the testimony actually beginning, the public testimony that took place, they asked us to certify that our addresses were still correct, as well as the census tract. And we confirmed that, and we emailed back, and I got confirmation that they received it. Yet I know I was removed from my district. I know Mark Vesey was removed from his district. I know Julie Johnson's not in her district, and I can't. Joaquin is not in his, so. Listen, they took all of us out. They basically left the numbers somewhere else and removed us, is all I know, which is yet another thing that the courts will look at. I will be clear that I have every intention of going to court as soon as possible to get an emergency action done, because I do feel as if there is a violation right now, if this map passes, of the Voting Rights Act for so many reasons.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. Mr. Chairman, can I ask the chairman and the bill author if the committee or legislative council requested to verify home address information for members of Congress, and that information was received, why was that information disregarded and members of Congress, particularly minority members of Congress representing majority minority districts, were seemingly intentionally drawn out of their districts?
Chair's not advised or aware of that, so we'll understood, and we'll look into it.
Would the bill author be able to address that?
Bill author's not currently at this. I mean, you can ask him at close. Yeah, but I don't know.
I'd be curious
because it's legislative council. I don't know what legislative council receives or not.
I'd be curious to know if the law firm Butler Snow that ostensibly drew the map had that information, and did they just choose to disregard it?
Understood. Let's see. Going back, Mr. Stogler, real quick before we go to our next question. Whenever we change you to register on behalf of yourself as well, we need to list your occupation. Would you mind telling me your occupation that we could list on your registration?
I'm retired.
Retired, okay.
Yes.
And we have your permission to put that on your registration?
Yes.
All right, we've done so. Thank you very much. Next questioner, we had Representative Spiller. Let's recognize the question panel.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a few questions for Congresswoman Crockett, if you don't mind. Thank you for being here today. You referenced in your testimony a few things about the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 in particular. You talked about the Petaway case, talked about coalition districts, the subject of the Petaway case, and you sound like you're pretty involved in litigation relating to redistricting. Have you, you're an attorney, have you read the Petaway case?
I have not read the Petaway case, but I am familiar-ish with it.
Okay. You understand that, I mean, you don't dispute that it's the law currently in the state of Texas?
I won't dispute that the Fifth Circuit has entered the decision. I will dispute that the Supreme Court has affirmed that decision. And I also want to say that I was present while the bill author talked about his interpretation of Petaway, and I disagree with his interpretation. In fact, he basically said this means that we can tear apart coalition districts, and that's not what it said. The Petaway decision stands for the position that you don't necessarily have to create new districts that are coalition districts, but not that the current coalition districts should not enjoy the protections under the Voting Rights Act. And what we're seeing here is that you are intentionally destroying coalition districts because of a misinterpretation of a Fifth Circuit court opinion that, in my opinion, is also going to lead, because of the amount of minorities that we've talked about that have been moved around, because the Voting Rights Act